Marcus Thompson stared at the empty cereal bowl in front of his 8-year-old daughter Emma. She had barely touched her breakfast again, and dark circles shadowed her usually bright eyes. The morning sunlight streaming through their small apartment kitchen felt too cheerful for the weight pressing down on his chest. "Daddy, my tummy hurts again," Emma whispered, pushing the bowl away with trembling fingers. Marcus knelt beside her chair, brushing a strand of blonde hair from her pale forehead. Her skin felt warm, too warm. This was the third morning this week she had complained of stomach pain, and her appetite had disappeared completely. As a single father working 2 jobs to make ends meet, Marcus had initially hoped it was just a phase. Children went through phases, right? But looking at his daughter now, he knew something was seriously wrong. "Let's get you to the doctor today, sweetheart," he said, forcing his voice to remain calm and reassuring. The pediatrician's office smelled like antiseptic and fear. Marcus held Emma's small hand as Dr. Peterson examined her, asking questions that made Marcus's heart race faster with each answer. The doctor's expression grew more serious as the examination continued. "I want to run some blood tests," Dr. Peterson said quietly, pulling Marcus aside while Emma colored in a children's book. Her symptoms, combined with the enlarged lymph nodes I'm feeling, warrant immediate investigation. The word immediate hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. He nodded, trying to process what the doctor might be suggesting without letting his mind go to the darkest possibilities. 3 days later, the phone call came while Marcus was stocking shelves at his morning job at the grocery store. Dr. Peterson's voice was gentle but direct. Emma had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The words seemed to echo in Marcus's ears as if spoken from the bottom of a well. "We need to start treatment right away," the doctor continued. "The good news is that childhood leukemia has a high success rate when caught early, but the treatment will be intensive and expensive." Marcus's legs nearly gave out. He gripped the edge of a shelf, his knuckles turning white. Expensive, the word that haunted every decision he made as a single parent working minimum wage jobs. His insurance from the grocery store was basic at best, and he knew it wouldn't cover the kind of treatment Emma would need. That evening, after tucking Emma into bed with extra hugs and stories, Marcus sat at his kitchen table surrounded by medical bills, insurance papers, and his laptop. The treatment costs were staggering. Even with insurance, he was looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical expenses. Chemotherapy, hospital stays, medications, follow-up care. The numbers blurred together as tears filled his eyes. His phone buzzed with a text from his ex-wife, Sarah, who had left them 2 years ago for what she called a better life in California. She had remarried quickly and rarely called Emma, let alone visited. The text was brief. "Heard about Emma. Sorry. Can't help financially right now. New baby coming." Marcus threw his phone across the room, where it clattered against the wall. The betrayal stung fresh, even after all this time. Sarah had walked, away from their family when things got difficult, and now she was starting over while he faced the fight of his life alone. He spent the next hour researching treatment options, second opinions, and financial assistance programs. Every avenue seemed to lead to the same conclusion. Emma needed the best possible care, and he would do whatever it took to get it for her, even if it meant losing everything he had worked for. The following morning, Marcus called in sick too. Both his jobs and drove Emma to the children's hospital downtown. The pediatric oncology ward was a mixture of hope and heartbreak. Bald children played in colorful rooms while their parents watched with forced smiles and worried eyes. Marcus recognized the look immediately. It was the same expression he saw in his own mirror. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, Emma's new oncologist, explained the treatment protocol in detail. Emma would need 6 months of intensive chemotherapy, possibly longer depending on how she responded. The doctor was optimistic but realistic about the challenges ahead. "The most important thing is that Emma feels supported and loved throughout this process," Dr. Martinez said. "Children are remarkably resilient, but they pick up on their parents' emotions. Your strength will be her strength." Marcus nodded, even as he felt anything but strong. That night he held Emma close as they watched her favorite cartoon together. She seemed so small and fragile in his arms, Yet he knew she had the fighting spirit of her stubborn father. "Daddy, am I going to be okay?" she asked during a commercial break. Marcus looked into her trusting eyes and made a promise he hoped he could keep. "We're going to fight this together, and we're going to win. You're the bravest little girl I know, and I'm never going to stop fighting for you." Over the next few days, Marcus began making difficult decisions. He sold his car and bought an older, cheaper model. He moved them out of their apartment and into a smaller, more affordable place closer to the hospital. He researched every charity, grant, and assistance program available for families facing childhood cancer. The treatment began the following Monday. Emma was scared but tried to be brave as the nurses inserted her IV line. Marcus held her hand through every procedure, whispering stories and jokes to distract her from the discomfort. The chemotherapy made her sick and tired, but she never complained. As the weeks passed, Marcus watched his savings disappear and the medical bills pile up. He applied for loans, reached out to distant relatives, and started a crowdfunding campaign online. Every dollar mattered, and every day was a battle not just against the cancer, but against the financial stress threatening to overwhelm them. 3 months into treatment, Emma's hair began falling out. She cried when she saw herself in the mirror, and Marcus's heart broke watching her struggle with her changing appearance. They went wig shopping together, turning it into an adventure rather than a tragedy. "Look, Daddy, I can be a princess or a superhero," Emma said, trying on different wigs with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Marcus realized then that fighting to save his daughter would require more than just medical treatment and money. It would require preserving her spirit, her joy, and her belief in tomorrow. The road ahead looked impossibly difficult, but giving up was not an option. Emma deserved every chance at life, and he would move heaven and earth to give her that chance. The collection agency calls started at 6 in the morning. Marcus had learned to let them go to voicemail, but their messages were becoming more threatening. The hospital bills alone had reached $200,000, and that didn't include the medications Emma needed or the countless doctor visits. Marcus sat in the hospital waiting room while Emma received her chemotherapy treatment. She had been responding well to the medication, but the financial stress was eating him alive. He had already borrowed money from every friend who would lend it, maxed out 3 credit cards, and taken a loan against his future earnings. "Mr. Thompson?" A social worker named Janet approached him with a clipboard and a sympathetic smile. "I wanted to discuss some options with you regarding Emma's care." Marcus's stomach dropped. He had been dreading this conversation. "What kind of options?" Janet sat down beside him, her voice gentle but professional. "There are some experimental treatments available through clinical trials. They would be free of charge, but they're still in testing phases. The success rates are promising, but there are risks involved." "What kind of risks?" Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "The treatments are newer, less proven than the standard protocols. Some children respond wonderfully, others don't respond at all, and in rare cases there can be unexpected complications." Marcus stared at the floor, processing the impossible choice. Continue with the proven treatment that was bankrupting him, or risk Emma's life on an experimental protocol that might not work. Neither option felt right. That afternoon, while Emma napped in her hospital bed, Marcus stepped outside for fresh air. He found himself pacing in the hospital parking lot, his phone pressed to his ear as he left yet another voicemail for a loan officer who hadn't returned his previous calls. "Mr. Thompson?" Marcus turned to see a woman approaching him. She was tall, with dark hair pulled back in a professional bun, wearing a navy blue suit that looked expensive. Something about her seemed familiar, but he couldn't place where he might have seen her before. "I'm Agent Victoria Hayes with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division," she said, showing him her badge. "I was hoping I could speak with you about your recent financial transactions." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What about them? You've been taking out significant loans, liquidating assets, and there's been some unusual activity on your accounts. We're investigating a series of fraudulent loan schemes, and your name came up in our database." "I haven't done anything illegal," Marcus said quickly. "I'm just trying to pay for my daughter's cancer treatment." Agent Hayes's expression softened slightly. I understand you're in a difficult situation, but some of the loan companies you've been dealing with are under investigation for predatory lending practices. You may be a victim rather than a suspect. Marcus felt a mix of relief and frustration. So what does that mean for me? I still owe the money, don't I? That depends on what we find. But I need to ask you some questions about your dealings with these companies. It could help not just you, but other families who might be getting taken advantage of. They spent the next hour going through Marcus's financial records. Agent Hayes was thorough, but not unkind, and Marcus found himself opening up about the desperate measures he had taken to fund Emma's treatment. I know how this looks, Marcus said, running his hands through his hair. But I would do anything for my daughter. She's all I have left. Agent Hayes studied him carefully. What happened to her mother? Marcus's jaw tightened. She left, said being a wife and mother wasn't the life she wanted. She remarried and moved across the country. Emma barely hears from her. That must have been difficult. The hardest part was explaining to Emma why Mommy didn't want to be part of our family anymore. But we've managed. At least we were managing until this happened. Agent Hayes closed her notepad and looked at Marcus directly. Mr. Thompson, I'm going to be honest with you. Several of the loan companies you've dealt with are fronts for money, laundering operations. The interest rates they're charging you are illegal, and the contracts you signed may not be enforceable. Marcus felt a spark of hope for the first time in weeks. What does that mean? It means you might not owe as much money as you think, but I need your help to build cases against these companies. Your testimony could help us shut them down and recover money for other victims. Marcus looked back toward the hospital where his daughter was fighting for her life. What do you need me to do? I need you to continue dealing with these companies as if nothing has changed. Record conversations, save all documentation, and report back to me. It could take a few weeks, but if we can prove fraud, you might be able to get out from under some of this debt. And if we can't prove fraud? Agent Hayes hesitated. Then you're still responsible for the legitimate debts, but at least you'll know exactly what you really owe. Marcus agreed immediately. He had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Agent Hayes gave him her card and detailed instructions on how to document his interactions with the loan companies. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus became an amateur detective while continuing to care for Emma. He recorded phone calls, saved emails, and documented every interaction with the predatory lenders. Agent Hayes met with him twice more, always professional but showing increasing concern for Emma's condition. How is she doing? Agent Hayes asked during their third meeting. Better, Marcus said, and for the first time in months it was true. The chemotherapy is working, her blood counts are improving, and the doctors are optimistic about her prognosis. That's wonderful news. Marcus studied Agent Hayes' face. Something had changed in her demeanor over the past few weeks. She seemed more personally invested in his situation, asking about Emma's treatment and showing genuine concern for their welfare. Agent Hayes, can I ask you something? Victoria, she said. And sure. Why are you helping us so much? I mean, beyond the investigation. You've been going above and beyond what I would expect from a federal agent. Victoria looked uncomfortable for a moment. I lost my sister to cancer when she was 12. I was Emma's age at the time. Watching a parent fight to save their child brings back memories. Marcus felt a connection he hadn't expected. I'm sorry for your loss. It was a long time ago. But I remember how desperate my parents were, how they tried everything and spent everything. In the end, it wasn't enough. Emma's going to make it, Marcus said with more confidence than he felt. I believe she will, and I'm going to make sure these loan sharks don't destroy your family in the process. As Marcus drove back to the hospital that evening, he realized that for the first time since Emma's diagnosis, he didn't feel completely alone. Agent Hayes was fighting alongside him, even if her motivations were professional rather than personal. Emma was awake when he arrived, coloring in a new book that one of the nurses had brought her. Daddy, look what I made you, she said, holding up a drawing of a man and a little girl holding hands under a rainbow. Marcus hugged her tight, feeling hope building in his chest. Maybe they really could win this fight after all. Marcus's hands shook as he listened to the recorded phone call for the third time. The loan officer from Consolidated Credit Solutions was clearly trying to intimidate him into taking out another high-interest loan, using Emma's medical condition as leverage. "Your daughter needs this treatment, Mr. Thompson," the voice on the recording said. "We're the only ones willing to help families like yours. Without this loan, what happens to little Emma?" Victoria Hayes sat across from Marcus in the small conference room at the FBI field office, watching his reaction to the recording. Over the past month, they had gathered substantial evidence against 3 separate loan companies that were targeting desperate families dealing with medical emergencies. "This is exactly what we needed," Victoria said, stopping the playback. "They're using your daughter's illness to coerce you into accepting predatory terms. This recording alone could put these people away for years." Marcus looked up from the table, exhausted from weeks of documenting phone calls and meetings while simultaneously caring for Emma and working his reduced hours at the grocery store. "When will this be over? I mean, when can I stop pretending to work with these people?" "Soon. We're preparing to make arrests next week. Once that happens, you'll be free and clear of any obligations to these fraudulent companies." Marcus felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. "And the money I've already paid them? You'll get most of it back. The court will order restitution as part of the sentencing." For the first time in months, Marcus allowed himself to smile. Emma's treatment was going well, and now it looked like the financial nightmare might finally be ending. Victoria gathered the recording equipment and files, but she seemed hesitant to leave. Over the past few weeks, Marcus had noticed small changes in her behavior. She asked more personal questions about Emma, remembered details from their previous conversations, and sometimes seemed genuinely angry about what the loan sharks had put his family through. "Marcus, I need to tell you something," Victoria said, not meeting his eyes. Something in her tone made Marcus's stomach tighten. "What is it?" Victoria took a deep breath. "The investigation is going to become public soon. There will likely be media attention, and your name might come up as a victim who helped us build the case. That's fine. If it helps other families, I don't mind." "That's not what I'm worried about." Victoria finally looked at him directly. "When your case first came across my desk, I recognized your name. Not from the loan companies, but from somewhere else." Marcus felt confused. "I don't understand. We never met before this investigation." Victoria's hands were clasped tightly in her lap. "Do you remember a car accident about 3 years ago? You were driving home from work late one night and you hit a patch of ice on Highway 94. Marcus's blood ran cold. He remembered that night vividly. His car had slid on the ice and collided with another vehicle. No one was seriously injured, but both cars were badly damaged. The police had determined that the icy conditions made it an unavoidable accident, and both insurance companies had handled it as a no-fault claim. "What does that have to do with anything?" Victoria's voice became very quiet. "I was in the other car." Marcus stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "I was coming home from a late shift at the bureau. My car spun out when you hit the ice patch and we collided. I spent 6 weeks in physical therapy for a back injury." Marcus felt like the room was spinning. "Why didn't you tell me this when we first met?" "Because I recognized your name and your situation, and I thought I could help you while maintaining my professional objectivity. But over the past few weeks, working with you, seeing what you're going through with Emma..." Victoria trailed off. "You felt sorry for me," Marcus said, his voice flat. "No, that's not it at all." Victoria stood up and began pacing. "At first, I thought maybe this was some kind of cosmic justice. You had caused me months of pain and medical bills, and now you were in financial trouble. But then I met you. I saw how much you love Emma, how hard you're fighting for her." Marcus felt betrayed and confused. "So this whole investigation, your help with the loan sharks, it's all because you were the other driver that night?" "The investigation is real, Marcus. The loan companies are real criminals, and your testimony is genuinely important. But I should have told you about our connection from the beginning." Marcus stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I need to think about this. Marcus, please, don't let this change anything with the investigation." Those loan sharks need to be stopped, and Emma needs you to see this through. Marcus grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. I'll finish what we started because it's the right thing to do, but I need some time to process this. Marcus, wait. He turned back at the door. Victoria looked genuinely distressed, more emotional than he had ever seen her. For what it's worth, I'm glad the accident happened, she said. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? If we hadn't crashed that night, I never would have recognized your name in the case files. I never would have been assigned to work with you. And I never would have met Emma or seen what an incredible father you are. Marcus left without responding, his mind racing as he drove back to the hospital. Emma was having a good day, her color better than it had been in weeks. She was sitting up in bed working on a puzzle with one of the volunteer teenagers from the local high school. Daddy, she called when she saw him. Look, I'm almost finished with this puzzle. It's a picture of a castle with a princess. Marcus sat on the edge of her bed, trying to push thoughts of Victoria and the car accident out of his mind. Emma needed his full attention and positive energy. That's beautiful, sweetheart. You're getting so good at puzzles. Emma studied his face with the intuitive wisdom that children sometimes possess. You look sad, Daddy. Is everything okay? Marcus forced a smile. Everything's fine. I'm just tired. Tell me about your day. As Emma chattered about her morning, with the nurses and the new book the hospital librarian had brought her, Marcus found his anger at Victoria fading. The woman had kept a secret, yes, but she had also helped him in ways that went far beyond her professional obligations. Over the next few days, Marcus found himself thinking about Victoria more than he wanted to admit. She called twice, but he let the calls go to voicemail. He knew he would have to face her soon to finalize the evidence for the case against the loan companies, but he wasn't ready yet. Emma's oncologist delivered good news during their Friday appointment. The chemotherapy was working better than expected, and they might be able to reduce the intensity of her treatment sooner than originally planned. She's responding beautifully, Dr. Martinez said. Her blood work looks excellent and the latest scans show significant reduction in the affected areas. Marcus felt tears of relief in his eyes. After months of fighting and worrying, it looked like Emma was going to be okay. That evening, as Emma slept peacefully in her hospital bed, Marcus finally listened to Victoria's voicemails. Marcus, I know you're angry and you have every right to be, but please call me back. We need to discuss the final phase of the investigation. The second message was shorter. I hope Emma is doing well. I've been thinking about both of you. Marcus stared at his phone for a long time before finally dialing Victoria's number. Thank you for calling me back. Victoria's voice was cautious when she answered on the second ring. Marcus sat in his car in the hospital parking lot, watching the late evening traffic through his windshield. We need to finish this investigation. I won't let those loan sharks hurt other families just because we have personal complications. Can we meet tomorrow? There are some final documents you need to sign, and I want to prepare you for what happens when we make the arrests. Fine. But Victoria? Marcus paused, still processing his mixed emotions. We need to keep this professional from now on. Of course. I understand. The next day, Marcus arrived at the FBI field office with a stack of additional documentation he had gathered over the weekend. Victoria was waiting in the same conference room where they had met multiple times before, but the atmosphere felt different now, more formal, more distant. The arrests are happening tomorrow morning, Victoria explained, spreading files across the table. We're taking down the entire network, 23 people across 4 states, including the executives, who were running the operation from corporate offices in Chicago. Marcus reviewed the paperwork she had prepared for him. What do I need to do? Nothing. You've already done everything we needed. Your testimony and the evidence you gathered will be crucial for the prosecution, but that won't happen for several months. And the money they stole from families, we've frozen their accounts. Restitution will be part of the plea agreements or court sentences. You should recover about 80% of what you paid them. Marcus felt a surge of relief. 80% of what he had paid to the fraudulent loan companies would be enough to clear most of Emma's remaining medical bills. Combined with his insurance coverage and the hospital's payment plan, they would finally be financially stable. "There's something else," Victoria said, her voice becoming less professional. "The Bureau is recommending you for a civilian service award. What you did, gathering evidence while under enormous personal stress, probably saved dozens of other families from being victimized." Marcus looked up from the paperwork. "I don't want an award. I just wanted to save my daughter and get out of debt. The award comes with a small monetary recognition, $5,000. "That's very generous, but I didn't do this for money." Victoria smiled for the first time since he had arrived. "I know. That's exactly why you deserve it." They finished the paperwork in silence, both aware that this would likely be their last official meeting. As Marcus prepared to leave, Victoria stood and extended her hand for a professional handshake. "It's been an honor working with you, Mr. Thompson. I hope Emma continues to recover well." Marcus shook her hand, noting how soft it was, how her fingers lingered just a moment longer than necessary. "Thank you for everything you've done for us, Agent Hayes." As he walked toward the door, Victoria called his name. "Marcus?" He turned back. "I know you said to keep things professional, and I respect that, but I want you to know that meeting you and Emma has changed me. You're a good father and a good man, and I'm sorry about how everything got complicated." Marcus studied her face, seeing vulnerability beneath her professional mask. "The car accident wasn't your fault, Victoria. It wasn't anyone's fault. And what you've done for us, helping us fight these loan sharks, that was your choice. You didn't owe us anything. Maybe not. But I wanted to help. Not because of guilt about the accident, but because I believed in what you were fighting for." Marcus felt his resolve to maintain distance beginning to waver. Over the past 2 months, Victoria had become more than just a federal agent working his case. She had become someone he looked forward to seeing, someone who understood the pressure he was under, someone who genuinely cared about Emma's well-being. "Victoria, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "That night we talked about your sister who died of cancer. You said it was a long time ago, but you still seem affected by it." Victoria sat back down, her professional demeanor dropping completely. "She was my twin sister. Leukemia, just like Emma. We were 12 when she got sick, 14 when she died. Watching my parents fight to save her, seeing them sacrifice everything and still lose her, it shaped everything about who I became." Marcus returned to his chair, drawn by the pain in her voice. "Is that why you became an FBI agent?" "Partly. I wanted to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves. When I saw your case file, saw that you were dealing with the same type of cancer that took my sister, and then realized you were being victimized by these criminals on top of everything else." Victoria's voice trailed off. "You saw yourself at 12 years old watching your parents struggle?" "Something like that." Marcus felt his anger at her deception finally dissolving completely. "Victoria, what you did, not telling me about the accident right away, I understand why you made that choice. Auntie, do you? You were trying to help Emma. Maybe your reasons started with guilt about the accident, but somewhere along the way it became about something more." Victoria nodded. "Much more." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Marcus found himself really looking at Victoria for the first time, without the filter of their professional relationship or his anger about her deception. She was beautiful, yes, but more than that. She was kind and intelligent and fiercely dedicated to protecting people. "Emma's been asking about you," Marcus said quietly. Victoria's face brightened. "She has?" "She wants to know when the nice FBI lady is going to visit her again. She's been drawing pictures for you. I would love to see her, but I didn't think it would be appropriate." Marcus made a decision that surprised even him. "Would you like to have dinner with us tomorrow night? Nothing fancy, just pizza in Emma's hospital room. She's been having good days lately, and I think she'd really enjoy seeing you." Victoria's smile was radiant. "I would love that. Are you sure?" "I'm sure. But I have one condition." "What's that?" "No more secrets between us. If we're going to be friends, it has to be honest friendship." "Friends?" Victoria repeated, and Marcus thought he detected a note of disappointment in her voice. "Well, Marcus said, standing up and grinning. We'll start with friends and see what happens. As Marcus drove back to the hospital, he realized that for the first time since Emma's diagnosis, he was thinking about the future beyond just her recovery. He was thinking about what life might look like when the medical bills were paid, when the stress of treatment was over, when he could focus on something other than just survival. Emma was awake when he arrived, sitting up in bed and working on a new drawing. Daddy, look, I made this for Agent Victoria. Marcus looked at the drawing. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright sun. A tall figure with long dark hair, a medium-sized figure with brown hair, and a small figure with yellow hair wearing a hospital gown. That's beautiful, sweetheart. You can give it to her tomorrow when she comes to visit. Emma's face lit up with pure joy. She's coming to visit me? She's going to have pizza with us tomorrow night. Emma clapped her hands together, more excited than Marcus had seen her in months. As he tucked her in for the night, she looked up at him with serious eyes. Daddy, do you like Agent Victoria? Marcus considered the question carefully. Yes, sweetheart, I like her very much. Good. I think she likes us too. As Emma drifted off to sleep, Marcus sat beside her bed thinking about second chances and unexpected connections. Sometimes the worst things that happened to you led to the best things. The car accident had brought Victoria into their lives. Emma's illness had shown him what truly mattered. And now, maybe, they were all getting a chance to build something beautiful together. Victoria arrived at the hospital the next evening carrying a large pepperoni pizza and a small gift bag. She had changed out of her usual business suit into jeans and a soft blue sweater that made her look younger and more approachable. Agent Victoria, Emma called out excitedly as soon as she saw her. Just Victoria, she corrected gently, setting the pizza on the rolling table and pulling up a chair next to Emma's bed. How are you feeling today? Much better. Daddy says my blood is getting stronger every day. Marcus watched the interaction between Victoria and his daughter, noting how naturally they connected. Victoria listened to Emma with complete attention, asking thoughtful questions about her drawings and the book she had been reading. I made something for you, Emma said, pulling out the drawing she had worked on the night before. Victoria examined the picture of the 3 stick figures under the sun, her eyes growing suspiciously bright. This is the most beautiful picture anyone has ever given me. Can I keep it forever? Of course, it's us, see? You and Daddy and me. I can see that. We look very happy together. As they shared pizza and Emma told Victoria about her favorite nurses and the therapy dog that visited twice a week, Marcus found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't since Emma's diagnosis. The 3 of them felt natural together, like a family. Emma, can I tell you a secret? Victoria asked after they had finished eating. Emma leaned in conspiratorially. What kind of secret? When I was your age, I had to stay in the hospital for a while too. Not for the same reason as you, but I was scared and lonely. I wish I had been as brave as you are. Were you sick? I was hurt in an accident. But the worst part wasn't being hurt. The worst part was being away from my family and feeling like I was causing them to worry. Emma nodded seriously. Sometimes I feel bad that Daddy has to spend so much time taking care of me instead of working. Marcus started to protest, but Victoria spoke first. Emma, can I tell you something very important? Taking care of someone you love is never a burden. It's a privilege. Your daddy loves you more than anything in the world, and every minute he spends with you is exactly where he wants to be. Really? Really? And do you know how I know that? How? Because when I first met your daddy, the only thing he talked about was making sure you got better. He wasn't worried about money or work or anything else, just you. Emma turned to Marcus with a radiant smile. Daddy, is that true? Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. Every word of it, sweetheart. You are the most important thing in my life. After Emma fell asleep that evening, Marcus walked Victoria to the hospital parking garage. The autumn air was crisp, and Victoria pulled her sweater tighter around herself. Thank you for tonight, Marcus said. Emma hasn't been that happy in months. She's an incredible little girl. You've done an amazing job raising her. I've made a lot of mistakes. Victoria stopped walking and faced him. Marcus, can I tell you something? Of course. Over the past few months, watching you fight for Emma, I've learned what real strength looks like. You've been dealing with unimaginable stress, working multiple jobs, navigating the medical system, fighting off loan sharks, and through it all, Emma never doubted for a second that you would take care of her. Marcus felt heat in his cheeks. I've been terrified every single day. That's what makes you brave. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what needs to be done even when you are scared. They reached Victoria's car, but neither seemed ready to end the evening. Victoria, I need to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. Okay. Marcus took a deep breath. Are you interested in Emma and me because you feel guilty about the car accident? Or because of what happened to your sister? Or because you genuinely care about us as people? Victoria was quiet for a long moment, leaning against her car and looking up at the stars barely visible through the city lights. Do you want the FBI agent answer or the real answer? The real answer. The real answer is that it started with guilt and grief, but it became something completely different. Watching you love Emma so fiercely, seeing how you put her needs above everything else, including your own well-being. Marcus, I haven't felt this way about anyone in years. Marcus stepped closer to her. What way? Like I want to be part of something. Like I want to help you carry the load, not because it's my job or because I owe you something, but because I care about what happens to both of you. Marcus reached out and gently touched her hand. Victoria, I need you to know something too. What? For the past 2 months, you've been the only person besides Emma who made me feel like I wasn't fighting this battle alone. Even before I knew about the car accident, even when I thought you were just doing your job, you made me feel supported and understood. Victoria turned her hand palm up, intertwining their fingers. Where does that leave us? Marcus looked back, toward the hospital where his daughter was sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. Emma's treatment was working. The financial crisis was resolving, and standing here with Victoria, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope for a future that included more than just survival. It leaves us figuring it out together, Marcus said. If you want to. Victoria smiled and stepped closer to him. I want to. More than I've wanted anything in a long time. Marcus leaned down and kissed her softly, a kiss that tasted like new beginnings and second chances. When they broke apart, Victoria rested her forehead against his. I have a confession, she whispered. Marcus tensed slightly. No more secrets, remember? It's not a secret, just something I realized tonight. When Emma drew that picture of the three of us together, I wanted it to be real. I wanted to be part of your family. Marcus felt his heart racing. Victoria, we barely know each other outside of this crisis situation. Then let's get to know each other. Take it slow, see where it leads. Emma's recovery is going to take months, more. Even when the treatment ends, there will be follow-up appointments and monitoring. Dating a single father with a child who's battling cancer isn't exactly easy. Victoria laughed softly. Marcus, I'm an FBI agent. I carry a gun to work and deal with criminals all day. I think I can handle whatever comes with loving you and Emma. The word loving hung between them, spoken so naturally that neither of them questioned it. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked. Once Emma gets attached to you, and she will, there's no going back without breaking her heart. I'm sure. Are you? Marcus thought about Emma's drawing, about the way Victoria had listened to his daughter's stories with genuine interest, about how natural it felt to share pizza together in a hospital room. I'm sure, he said. They made plans to meet for coffee. The following weekend, just the two of them, to start getting to know each other outside the intensity of the investigation and Emma's treatment. As Victoria drove away, Marcus felt lighter than he had in months. Back in Emma's room, he found her awake and looking out the window. Daddy, is Victoria going to be our friend for a long time? Marcus sat on the edge of her bed and smoothed her hair, which had started growing back in soft patches. I think so, sweetheart. Would you like that? Yes. She makes you smile different. Different how? Emma thought for a moment. Like you're happy inside. not just pretending to be happy for me. Marcus was amazed, as he often was, by his daughter's perceptiveness. You're right. Victoria does make me happy. Good. I want you to be happy, Daddy. You take such good care of me, but sometimes I worry that no one takes care of you. Marcus felt tears welling up in his eyes. Oh, sweetheart, you don't need to worry about me. But I do worry. And I think Victoria wants to take care of you too. As Emma drifted back to sleep, Marcus realized that his 8-year-old daughter understood something that had taken him months to figure out. He had been so focused on being Emma's protector and provider that he had forgotten he deserved love and care too. The next morning brought the news that the FBI raids had been successful. Victoria called to tell him that all 23 suspects had been arrested, and that the evidence he had helped gather was already leading to plea negotiations. It's over, she said. You and Emma are safe, and those criminals won't be able to hurt any more families. Marcus felt a profound sense of closure. The fight against Emma's cancer would continue for several more months, but the financial crisis that had threatened to destroy them was finally resolved. Victoria, thank you for everything. Thank you for trusting me, even when you had every reason not to. I'll see you Saturday for coffee. I'm looking forward to it. As Marcus hung up the phone, Emma stirred in her hospital bed and opened her eyes. Good morning, sunshine, Marcus said. How are you feeling? Emma sat up and stretched, looking stronger and more alert than she had in weeks. I feel good, Daddy. Really good. Dr. Martinez is coming to see you this morning. I think she's going to have some very good news about your treatment. Emma smiled and reached for her sketch pad. I'm going to draw another picture for Victoria. This time I want to draw us at home, not in the hospital. Marcus watched his daughter begin sketching, her small hands steady and sure. For the first time since this nightmare began, he could actually envision them at home together, healthy and happy, with Victoria as part of their lives. The future, which had seemed so uncertain and frightening just a few months ago, was beginning to look bright again. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the doorway of Emma's new bedroom, watching Victoria help his daughter arrange books on her shelf. They had moved into a larger apartment with 2 bedrooms and a kitchen big enough for family dinners. Emma's hair had grown back completely thick and golden, and her energy had returned along with her health. Daddy, look, Emma called, holding up a certificate. It's from my doctor saying I'm in complete remission. Marcus walked over and examined the official document from Dr. Martinez. The words complete remission still felt like a miracle every time he read them. Emma had finished her chemotherapy 2 months ago, and every follow-up test had shown that the cancer was gone. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart, Marcus said, lifting Emma up in a hug. You fought so hard and so bravely. We all fought hard, Emma corrected, looking meaningfully at Victoria. Right, Victoria? Victoria smiled and ruffled Emma's hair. That's right. We're a good team. The past 6 months had been a gradual process of building a life together. Victoria and Marcus had taken their relationship slowly, dating for weeks before she stayed overnight, months before she moved in with them. Emma had been involved in every step, and her enthusiasm for having Victoria as part of their family had made the transition natural and joyful. Who wants to help me start dinner? Victoria asked. I'm making Emma's favorite spaghetti and meatballs. Me, Emma shouted, running toward the kitchen. Marcus caught Victoria's hand as she started to follow Emma. Thank you. For what? For everything. For helping us fight the loan sharks, for staying with us through the scary parts, for loving Emma like she's your own daughter. Victoria stood on her tiptoes and kissed him softly. Thank you for letting me be part of this incredible family. From the kitchen came Emma's voice calling, Are you coming? I need help reaching the pasta. They joined Emma in the kitchen, working together to prepare dinner with the easy rhythm they had developed over months of shared meals and bedtime stories and doctor's appointments. Victoria had officially transferred to a position with less travel so she could be more present for Emma's treatment and recovery. Victoria, Emma said as she stirred the pasta sauce, can I ask you something important? Of course. Emma glanced at Marcus, then back at Victoria with a serious expression. Are you going to marry my daddy? Victoria nearly dropped the wooden spoon she was holding. Marcus felt his face turn red. They had talked about the future in general terms, but the subject of marriage hadn't come up directly. Emma, Marcus started to say, but Victoria held up a hand. That's a very important question, Emma. What would you think if I did marry your daddy? Emma considered this carefully. I think it would be wonderful. Then you would be my stepmom, and we would be a real family forever. Victoria knelt down to Emma's eye level. Emma, we're already a real family. Marriage is just a piece of paper. What makes a family is people who love each other and take care of each other. But would you still want the piece of paper? Victoria looked over at Marcus, who was watching the conversation with fascination and growing emotion. Yes, Victoria said quietly. If your daddy wanted it too, I would very much like that piece of paper. Marcus stepped closer to both of them. Emma, Victoria and I haven't talked about this yet. Well, talk about it now, Emma said with 8-year-old directness. Do you want to marry Victoria, Daddy? Marcus looked at Victoria, kneeling on their kitchen floor in jeans and an old t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, sauce stains on her hands from helping Emma cook. She looked beautiful and real and perfect. Over the past months, she had become not just the woman he loved, but his partner in every sense of the word. Yes, Marcus said simply. I do want to marry Victoria. Emma clapped her hands together and jumped up and down. This is the best day ever. Victoria stood up, her eyes bright with tears. Marcus Thompson, is this your very unromantic way of proposing to me? Marcus laughed and pulled her into his arms. Victoria Hayes, will you marry us, Emma and me? Will you be our family officially and forever? Yes, Victoria said, kissing him as Emma cheered in the background. Yes, to both of you. That evening, after Emma had gone to bed clutching her remission certificate and chattering excitedly about wedding plans, Marcus and Victoria sat on their couch talking about the future. I can't believe how much our lives have changed in 1 year, Marcus said, holding Victoria close. I was just thinking the same thing. A year ago, I was a workaholic FBI agent who lived alone and ate takeout every night. Now I'm engaged to a wonderful man and about to become a stepmother to the most amazing little girl. A year ago, I was a terrified single father drowning in medical bills and fighting to save my daughter's life. I never imagined I would find love in the middle of all that chaos. Victoria traced patterns on Marcus's chest with her finger. Do you ever think about the car accident? About how if it hadn't happened, we never would have met? Sometimes, it's strange to think that one of the worst nights of our lives led to the best thing that ever happened to us. Maybe that's how life works. The bad things and the good things get tangled up together, and sometimes you can't have one without the other. Marcus thought about Emma's illness, about the fear and desperation he had felt, about the way fighting for her recovery had stripped away everything that didn't matter and shown him what was truly important. I'm grateful for all of it, he said. Even the scary parts. They led us here. Victoria looked up at him with love in her eyes. Where do you want to get married? Somewhere Emma can be the center of attention. You know she's going to want to. Plan the whole thing. Victoria laughed. I'm counting on it. I've never planned a wedding before. Neither have I. We'll figure it out together. 3 months later, they were married in the hospital chapel where Emma had spent so many weeks recovering. Dr. Martinez and the nursing staff attended, along with Marcus's friends from work, Victoria's colleagues from the FBI, and Emma's new friends from her support group for children who had survived cancer. Emma served as both flower girl and maid of honor, wearing a pale pink dress and carrying a bouquet of sunflowers. She had insisted on sunflowers because they represented happiness and strength, and she wanted their wedding to celebrate both. During the reception in the hospital's family room, Emma stood up to make a toast with her plastic cup of apple juice. I want to say thank you to everyone who helped my daddy and Victoria fall in love, she announced, causing the adults to laugh and applaud. And I want to thank the bad guys who tried to steal our money because if they hadn't been bad guys, Victoria wouldn't have had to come save us. Marcus and Victoria exchanged amused glances. Only Emma would thank criminals in a wedding toast. Most of all, Emma continued, I want to thank cancer for going away and never coming back, and I want to thank my daddy for being the best daddy in the world, and I want to thank Victoria for being the best almost mommy in the world. There wasn't a dry eye in the room as Emma raised her cup high. To our family. To our family, everyone echoed. Later that evening, after the guests had gone home and Emma had finally fallen asleep in her new room in their larger apartment, Marcus and Victoria sat on their couch looking through wedding photos on Victoria's camera. Look at this one, Victoria said, showing him a picture of Emma dancing with both of them at the reception. She looks so happy and healthy. She is happy and healthy, and she's going to stay that way. Victoria leaned against Marcus's shoulder. I love our life. Even the crazy parts. Especially the crazy parts. They're what make it ours. Marcus kissed the top of Victoria's head and thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. From the terror of Emma's diagnosis to the desperation of fighting predatory lenders, from the shock of discovering Victoria's connection to the car accident, to the gradual building of trust and love between them. Victoria? I'm glad you were in the other car that night, even though it hurt both of us, especially because it hurt both of us. Pain led us to healing. Chaos led us to peace. Fear led us to love. Victoria lifted her head to look at him. And a single dad fighting to save his daughter found exactly what he was looking for. What was I looking for? Victoria smiled and kissed him softly. A family. A real family that would never give up on each other. Marcus looked toward Emma's bedroom, where their daughter slept peacefully, surrounded by get-well cards she had kept as reminders of how many people cared about her recovery. Tomorrow they would wake up as a officially married family, ready to face whatever challenges life might bring them, knowing they would face them together. We did it, Marcus whispered. We saved her, and we saved each other. Yes, Victoria agreed, settling back into his arms. We did. Outside their window, the city lights twinkled like stars, and inside their home, a family built from courage, love, and second chances slept peacefully, ready to write the next chapter of their story together.